be aware that this man might copyright claim this if he sees it. Good. Let the man make his bread. He doesn't need to see it because his distributor takes care of it for him. If you use something like a DistroKid or really any other distribution medium, tool, whatever, you can put as part of the service to claim anybody who uses your audio, and that is fine. Stitch put a lot of work into this track, and I just kind of sat down and was like, yeah, this is good. I'm not saying React content is insipid, but it's not hard. When you make a music track, you're talking about hours to seconds ratio in terms of input to output. So the man deserves to have his copyright enforced and to get the revenue from his hard work. But that's not all. Wait, there's more. That's cringe, bruh. You want to get big, but copyright reactors? What? Stitch is big, at least big enough to pay his bills with music. It's not an easy spot to get to. I think people confuse success with raw views. He could get way more views. He can do way more to get views, but ultimately he defines what success is. So once again, the man is allowed to make money from his work. If you find a way to make a decent living as an artist, then tell me and I'll stop putting ownership on my own tracks. Currently, one of the only ways to make a living as an artist is to basically be an influencer. You're going to have to shoot for social media. You're going to have to shoot for Patreon, building a community around that. One of the ways to get money, to make a living, is to be able to get paid for the things that you make. Not every video can have a sponsor, particularly when it comes to beatboxing, because the audience tends to be really young and doesn't have a lot of buying power. So sponsorships are not exactly falling over themselves to work with individual beatboxers, especially when the biggest companies, Boss and other microphone companies, are working with organizations that have so much more reach, like Swiss Beatboxing. It's not going to be possible for an individual to have as much impact and viewership as a large organization like Swiss Beatbox. So there's no real point about going to micro-influencers in order to be able to accomplish that, especially because what Twitch is known for, Stitch. What Stitch is known for is his music or his sounds, not his gear. It's not hard to do it. GBB videos get over millions of views, so clearly there's a demand for beatboxing content. I mean, look at Codfish and D-Lo. You can even stream like Mr. Wobbles does. In this day and age, you can do anything and make money from it. It just depends if you want it bad enough and can grind towards that goal. Copywriting people that bring more attention to your name and content, especially a new audience, is not a good way to go. As a React channel, it doesn't quite work that way. To make my channel work, I make videos on the artists that people really want to watch. If I use a small beatboxer, I have to put them on the tail end of a video of like D-Lo, for example, because that's the only way people are going to watch that creator. And if you watch the graph, the retention graph, the second I go on that younger or up-and-coming artist, the viewership just goes boosh. That's right, I'm talking about boosh. It just ends. It might as well have died a horrible death. Furthermore, it is very, very, very difficult to get millions of views. And even if you did, it's probably a good idea to monetize that anyway. There is a limit on how big someone can get. And let me tell you right now, Adsense from beatboxing videos are hot garbage. We're talking about as low as $1 per 1,000 views. I mean, it's bad. The only reason I cover beatboxing is because it's amazing. But almost all of my money comes from covering singers. So even if Stitch gets 1 million views on a video, we're talking about only $1,000. And let me tell you what, if you have bills to pay, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that's not a lot of money. Especially because getting to 1 million views usually means you have to have a lot of time invested into that video. It's very rare that someone like me gets over 100,000 views because React videos are not exactly God's gift to the world. They serve a purpose. It's basically the modern day music journalism. And it can help people get deeper into appreciating these artists should the react be thorough and detailed. So reactors really don't make you big. Reactors take big videos, they take big artists, and they benefit from that. Now, again, music journalism used to help people a lot. And so I do think reactors help people a lot, but it is not anywhere near the size that you think it is. Furthermore, you could be the biggest, most famous influencer in the world and still get shite money. Okay, that's not entirely true, not the biggest, but you can be big and you don't get a lot of money. And the trade-off to that sort of fame is that people will stalk you, people will shoot your house. And if you think I'm exaggerating, go look at Dr. Disrespect, go look at even Nothing, the CSGO player, who is relatively well known. His house got swatted. So there's a cost to being extremely well known, and without significant amounts of money, or at least a reasonable amount, you are not going to be able to mitigate the consequences of being well known, at least to that scale. It makes far more sense for Stitch to be known for what he's good at and monetize accordingly. That is part of a business. And a lot of you are thinking, oh my God, music as a business, that's immediately sellout town. It's not. Listen, if you want people to be really, really good, then they need to be able to do this full time. There comes a point in time where, God forbid you get married or have kids, hell, if you have a dog, you all of a sudden are part of a contribution to subsidize your own existence as well as help other people who are very important to your life to be able to live as well. Money is not evil. Making sure that you're getting paid for what you do is not evil. It makes you better at what you do. You have more time, more opportunity. I don't need to do beatboxing because I make money right now, and I don't want a career in beatboxing, but there's plenty of evidence that you can make it as a beatboxer. Social media is a wonderful thing. Why do you think people like Marquez, Spence got millions of followers? They know how to use social media properly and go mainstream. As an adult, I always kind of run into the conversation that when I say I'm a musician, someone says, well, I could have been a musician. I was talented as a kid. Yeah, but you didn't do it. You didn't practice every day. You didn't make the hard work that it takes to be able to refine your skill, as well as just being able to actually practice disciplined, for over like 10 years. That's like me saying I could have been a computer science major because I code right now. And that could be true, except that I didn't. Now, I will agree that social media is incredible, and I will agree that if you really understand it, it's a skill, and you probably, if you're really good at it, can actually use social media to go big. I mean, be mainstream. Social media is a skill, but, and this is a big but, being good at nothing doesn't make you famous. I have a friend of mine who's a mother of a kid. The kid's like really into social media. And she was asking me for advice, and I said, be great at something. Or at least like super, super, super good. If you get to a point where your fame begets fame, but you have no underlying skills that actually build a foundation off of that fame, then you're gone in 2 years. That is the average lifespan of a YouTube career is 2 years. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen a musician who gets this one little thing, this video idea that pushes them forward. Immediately I think of Composerly. He had these great how-to joke videos where he says how to sound like Skrillex. And then he would make it a bunch of memes, and it was great. But eventually people got sick of it. I mean, I got sick of it. And funnily enough, everyone was asking him to make his own music. And the second he did that, the second he made a video about music, his music, that exploded and gave him another opportunity to stay a full-time YouTuber. But make no mistake, this shit is hard. A lot of people would point to like the Paul brothers, but not only do they edit their videos in a very specific way, but they've been at it for over 10 years. And I'm not endorsing the Paul brothers, but it would be disingenuous to say that they're not good at brandjacking or newsjacking. Those guys know how to use headlines. that is a skill. So we have to ask ourselves, what do we want our beatboxers to be good at? Do we want beatboxers to be good at beatboxing and then have some skill in social media in order to market them and have them try to balance the two reasonably, but still biased towards beatboxing? Or do we want them to be the Paul brothers, where beatboxing becomes secondary? Yes, it is possible to do extremely well on social media if you're good at getting good at something. But that does not mean that it is a casual or easy affair. Using outliers like Swiss beatboxing or Marquet is not a convincing argument. These guys are huge, or these organizations are huge because they're huge. Either they started early or they were at the ground floor. There's so many reasons why people might get that big, in addition to skill. Some of this is luck. Like, Swiss beatboxing was all in on beatboxing when beatboxing was like a very small, precious niche. And so they've been there for the long haul. They've been there for a long time. Building a brand, which I know people are going to be like, oh my God, he's going to talk about building a brand. Yeah, I know, it's not very interesting, and it's kind of like NFTs. Fuck that shit. But that is completely and utterly necessary. I am not taken seriously by the beatboxing community because I've been here for a month or two. So understandably, I don't have a lot of pull. How many people do you know that jump on a trendy thing and try to milk that for all it's worth? Building a brand means you're building trust. Swiss Beatbox has been around for a long time, especially when you consider beatboxing being a big deal. Stitch can get there. I believe Stitch is incredibly talented, creative, and he's being savvy by copywriting his own work. But to get there, he needs to play the long game, and that means he needs to make a living. I guarantee you, listen, I have access to the numbers, okay? So I guarantee you, without a shadow of a doubt, that Stitch makes a modest living, at least in the context of what it would take to sustain your living in the United States. Like, he probably makes rent and maybe, he gets to feed himself for, maybe a little bit above that. He can buy gear. But people way overestimate the kind of money you get from a lot of views on a thing. First of all, Marquet doesn't make anything from a TikTok post unless it's a sponsorship. And also, the Creator Fund pays like crap. Philip DeFranco has gotten like millions and millions of views on his stuff on TikTok. And you know what he gets from the Creator Fund? $5,000. This man has a team of people working on stuff all over the place, and the man gets $5,000. Meanwhile, on YouTube, every video that Philip DeFranco releases has a sponsorship, as well as Adsense from an older demographic, but he still relies on Patreon because he actually has a business. He has an organization. In the beatboxing community, 1 million views is $1,000. I pump out 60 videos a month, probably not recently because I've been trying to make them good, kind of, which is a work in progress. But over the course of a year and a half, pumping out that many videos, I only have 2.5 million views on my channel. So I've made like $8,000. That's not a lot of money over the course of a year. So being big is not something that you can just do on one hand, and even if you do it, if you don't monetize in other ways, you probably won't be able to make a living. So trust that Stitch knows what Stitch is doing with his own career because he's doing it. He's making it. Stitch is making it work, which is a good thing. We should be happy that he's making it work. We should be happy that any beatboxer who's really good gets to do it full time because that means they stay good and they improve. I don't know what this is. I can't figure out why I was doing this. I don't You Raise Me Up, Josh Groban. I don't know what that is. I got duct tape on my watch. Beatboxers are not sellouts because they want to make a decent living. No one is killing it and bringing in hundreds of thousands of dollars. D-Lo maybe gets 6 figures, but even that dude doesn't have a lot of sponsors. So if you don't do this, I'm not saying you can't have opinions and feelings on it. Absolutely. I'm not saying that you can't do that. But if you don't do this, there are details and nuances and skills that you don't understand. In the same way that I don't understand computer science. I code in Python. I move files around. I edit my videos with automation. And that took me a long time, and I'm proud of those skills, but I'm not going to go and work for Microsoft. I'm not going to go work for Google, except I kind of do because I'm using AdSense and they get money off of that, but I get the majority share because YouTube is actually kind of cool, or Facebook sucks, TikTok sucks, Instagram sucks. At least in terms of like, making money. Like every person on TikTok, especially in the cooking niche, they're selling books, recipes, spice mixes. Like they're selling and hustling all that crap because TikTok doesn't pay them crap. That was my dog. My dog made that noise. So have some patience, have some understanding, and be willing to kind of hear these artists out when they're talking about the stuff that they do on the regular. Like, just because there's evidence and outliers and people who are making money doing a thing doesn't mean that that's the norm. It's not the norm. Almost every single artist that I have known has quit being an artist. They couldn't make it work, and then they had bills to pay, and they got married. Some of them got kids. Like, none of them make it work. I am one of 2 people that I know who have made it work, and I'm not even pumping out a lot of art. I will eventually, but it's not something I'm doing right now. So this shit is hard. It's very difficult. We should celebrate every single time that someone does well in it.